These are the words of the mother of the Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry, India. She used our similarities with the earth in her spiritual teaching. We know now that our earth is made of the dust of the stars from the nebulae in our cosmos. And we are made of the earth. Everything that we see, all that we have, everything that we are, comes from the substance of the earth. So we too are made of the dust of the stars. As the world we live in evolves through the unfolding of time, our progress is part of the evolution of the earth. In the evolution of our earth, each flower has some particular quality which we have or want to have, because people and flowers alike are children of the earth and stars. Throughout the ages, mankind has gone to nature for fulfillment, for peace, for renewal. When the mother saw that the dreams of creation live in a flower as a force and vibration which we share, she used the true meaning of flowers as a spiritual teaching to guide people and to help them to progress. The mother showed us that each flower is a mantra. A mantra is a word which, in itself, is the living consciousness and force of the meaning it expresses. Proper use of a mantra can change things. Each flower has a living vibration we can receive. Flowers have much to give us. The mother was born into a wealthy Paris family on February 21st, 1878. Her name was Mira Alfassa. Her initials were M.A., Ma. Mira would be called the mother, or Ma, for most of her adult life. Mother, or Ma, in the spiritual traditions of many cultures, means a realized being. A person who has realized the infinite, eternal source of the creation and the totality of its manifestation. Mira's family did not know the spiritual meaning of the word Ma, but the two letters of her spiritual title were embroidered on her baby clothes and blankets from the very beginning of her life. The mother was always conscious. She began to practice yoga when she was 4 years old. There was a small chair in her bedroom, and she sat in meditation for hours. A brilliant light descended above her head, causing activity in her brain. She wanted to unite with the light. At age 4, she knew she was going to do a great work, something as yet unknown on earth. Between the ages of 11 and 13, she remained conscious at night. While her body was asleep, she went out of her body to help suffering people. She also had a series of experiences which revealed the existence of God and man's possibility of uniting with God and of realizing Him integrally in daily life. During the night, She was given a discipline for the fulfillment of the realization of this divine consciousness by several teachers, some of whom she later met. Her relationship with one teacher continued to increase. It was Sri Aurobindo. Although she didn't know anything about Indian philosophies or religions, she called him Krishna. She understood that one day they would work together to bring to others the light and consciousness that she experienced. At the age of 12, because of her inner experiences, the mother gained knowledge and mastery over the secret powers and processes of nature. With these subtle powers, she could understand the true essence of a flower. Later in life, she explained how she could understand a flower's real meaning. Each flower has its own special significance, but not as we understand it mentally. There is a mental projection when one gives a precise meaning to a flower. It may answer, it may vibrate to the touch of this projection, and it may accept the meaning. But a flower has no equivalent of the mental consciousness. In the vegetable kingdom, there is the beginning of the soul, but there is no beginning of the mental consciousness. In animals, it is different. Mental life begins to form, and for them, things have a meaning. But in flowers, it is rather like the movement of a little baby. It is neither a sensation nor a feeling, but something of both. It is a spontaneous movement, a very special vibration. So, if one is in contact with it, if one feels it, one gets an impression which may be translated by a thought. That is how I have given a meaning to flowers and plants. There is a kind of identification with the vibration, a perception of the quality it represents. Sometimes it comes suddenly, occasionally it takes time. But little by little, through a kind of approximation, there is a coming together of these vibrations, which are of a vital emotional order, and the vibration of the mental thought. And if there is a sufficient harmony, one has a direct perception of what the plant may signify. All over the world today, people experience the rapid changes which Sri Aurobindo and the Mother saw coming 100 years ago. People of all ages and cultures are becoming aware that something new is happening, and they want to work for growth and change. The ancient spiritual teachings of many cultures are becoming available everywhere, and people are actively seeking a change in their consciousness. The Mother and Sri Aurobindo worked all their lives for the betterment of humanity and the earth. Sri Aurobindo was born in Calcutta on August 15, 1872. He received his entire education in England. His spiritual experiences and realizations began when he returned to India in 1893. In 1910, Sri Aurobindo went to Pondicherry, a French enclave in South India. He took the decision to stop his political activity and to devote himself completely to the realization and manifestation of the new consciousness. People have been reading Sri Aurobindo's writings for over 100 years. The Mother's teachings have been transcribed and published in books since 1931. Sri Aurobindo and the Mother explain the manifest and unmanifest creation and the influx of the new consciousness in detail. They are not just teaching philosophy. They are giving their own experiences, and their books radiate their consciousness. Sri Aurobindo was a prolific writer and a great poet. His realizations come to the reader through his poetry. In a poem called "Because Thou Art," he spoke to the divine consciousness. Because thou art all beauty and all bliss, my soul, blind and enamored, yearns for thee. It bears thy mystic touch in all that is, and thrills with the burden of that ecstasy. Behind all eyes I meet thy secret gaze, and in each voice I hear thy magic tune. Thy sweetness hunts my heart through nature's ways. Nowhere it beats now from thy snare immune. It loves thy body in all living things. Thy joy is there in every leaf and stone. The moments bring thee on their fiery wings. Sight's endless artistry is thou alone. Time voyages with thee upon its prow, and all the future's passionate hope is thou. Along with bringing the new consciousness, the Mother and Sri Aurobindo taught that it would change every aspect of our beings, and that its realization had to go all the way into the cells of our physical body. They gave methods and guidance and support to the increasing numbers of people who aspired to the full realization of the consciousness that was dawning. They taught that for this to be possible, our physical bodies must be transformed. To do this, the body must become more receptive to the new consciousness and more plastic to its workings. The Mother saw that a certain flower carried the vibration of aspiration in the physical for the Divine's love, and she used it to teach a method. Here is the flower we have called aspiration in the physical for the Divine's love. By the physical, I mean the physical consciousness, the most ordinary outward-going consciousness, the normal consciousness of most human beings, which sets such great store by comfort, good food, good clothes, happy relationships, etc., instead of aspiring for the higher things. Aspiration in the physical for the divine's love implies that the physical asks for nothing else save that it should feel how the divine loves it. It realizes that all its usual satisfactions are utterly insufficient. But there cannot be a compromise. If the physical wants the divine's love, it must want that alone, and not say, I shall have the divine's love, and at the same time keep my other attachments, needs, and enjoyments. The fundamental seat of aspiration, from which it radiates or manifests in one part of the being or another, is the soul center. When I speak of aspiration in the physical, I mean that the very consciousness in you, which hankers after material comfort and well-being, should of itself, without being compelled by the higher parts of your nature, ask exclusively for the divine's love. Usually you have to show it the light by means of your higher parts. Surely this has to be done persistently, otherwise the physical would never learn, and it would take nature's common round of ages before it learns by itself. Indeed, the round of nature is intended to show it all possible sorts of satisfactions, and by exhausting them, convince it that none of them can really satisfy it, and that what it is at bottom seeking is a divine satisfaction. In yoga, we hasten this slow process of nature and insist on the physical consciousness seeing the truth and learning to recognize and want it. But how to show it the truth? Well, just as you bring a light into a dark room, illumine the darkness of your physical consciousness with the intuition and aspiration of your more refined parts. And keep on doing so till it realizes how futile and unsatisfactory is its hunger for the low ordinary things, and turns spontaneously towards the truth. When it does turn, your whole life will be changed. The experience is unmistakable. In 1932, the mother started going out onto the balcony at the back of the ashram early in the morning, and soon everyone gathered in the street below her balcony for what came to be known as Mother's Balcony Darshan. A new daily contact with the Mother opened on a wider scale. She would look at each person separately to do her inner work in them, and they would feel her conscious force. Although hundreds of people gathered each day, if someone did not come, she would later ask them why they missed the morning darshan. Balcony darshan continued for 30 years until 1962. When people came to see the Mother, she gave them flower petals which she charged with consciousness. The ashramites made small envelopes, 2 inches by 2.5 inches in size, to hold the delicate flower petals. These came to be known as blessing packets. People received miraculous help from these flower petals, which the mother filled with the force of her consciousness to help and protect them. People asked her about the sense of beauty in the flowers. With so much love for flowers, people wanted to know if the flowers loved. Do flowers have a sense of beauty? Yes, flowers do have a sense of beauty. As soon as organic life comes into manifestation, the vital element comes in. And it is this vital element which gives to flowers their sense of beauty. It is not perhaps individualized in the sense we understand it, but it is the sense of the species, and the species always tries to realize it. I have noticed a first rudiment of the soul presence and vibration in vegetal life, and truly, this blossoming one calls a flower is the first manifestation of the presence of the soul. The soul is individualized only in man, but it was there before him. However, it's not the same kind of individualization in flowers that it is in man. In flowers, it's more fluid. It manifests as a force, as consciousness rather than individuality. Take the rose, for example. Its great perfection of form, color, and scent expresses an aspiration and a soul-giving. Look at a rose opening in the morning at the first touch of the sun. It is a magnificent self-giving in aspiration. Do flowers love? Yes, they do. This is their form of love, this blossoming. Certainly, when one sees a rose opening to the sun, it is like a need to give its beauty. Only for us, it is almost unintelligible, for they do not think about what they do. A human being always associates everything he does with this ability to see himself doing it. That is, to think about himself, think of himself doing it. Man knows that he is doing something. Animals don't think. It is not at all the same form of love. Flowers, so to speak, are not conscious. It is a spontaneous movement, not a consciousness that is conscious of itself, not at all. But it is a great force which acts through all that, the great universal consciousness and the great force of universal love, which makes all things blossom in beauty. The coming of World War II in 1939 brought families with children into the ashram, and the atmosphere changed as the mother embraced them all, body, mind, and soul. Some children of visiting families refused to leave the mother, or insisted on being brought back to the mother. The ashram was full of flowers and children, and everything grew in the mother's wisdom and love. When the children were old enough, she spoke to them about the value of their dreams. There is a world in which you are the supreme maker of forms. That world is your own particular vital world. You are the supreme fashioner, and you can make a marvel of your world if you know how to use it. If you have an artistic or poetic consciousness, if you love harmony, beauty, you will build there something marvelous, which will tend to spring up into the material manifestation. When I was small, I used to call this telling stories to oneself. It is not at all a telling with words in one's head. It is a going away to this place which is fresh and pure, and building up a wonderful story there. And if you know how to tell yourself a story in this way, and if it is truly beautiful, truly harmonious, truly powerful and well coordinated, this story will be realized in your life. Perhaps not exactly in the form in which you created it, but as a more or less changed physical expression of what you made. That may take years, perhaps, but your story will tend to organize your life. But there are very few people who know how to tell a beautiful story, and then they always mix horrors in it, which they regret later. If one could create a magnificent story without any horror in it, nothing but beauty, it would have a considerable influence on everyone's life. And this is what people don't know. If one knew how to use this power, this creative power in the world of vital forms, if one knew how to use this while yet a child, a very small child, for it is then that one fashions his material destiny. But usually, people around you, sometimes even your own little friends, but mostly parents and teachers dabble in it and spoil everything for you so well that very seldom does the thing succeed completely. But otherwise, if it were done like that, with the spontaneous candor of a child, you could organize a wonderful life for yourself. I am speaking of the physical world. The dreams of childhood are the realities of mature age. In her upstairs room in the ashram, the mother continued her work of bringing the new consciousness into the world and into the cells of her own body. For many years, a French disciple went to her room twice a week with a tape recorder, and the mother spoke of her work and progress. This record of the Mother's work has been published both in French and English in 13 volumes, titled L'Agenda de Mère, Mother's Agenda. The Mother's experiences and realizations give us guideposts on our way to the next step in human evolution. On November 17th, 1973, at the age of 95, after having reached a stage where she had done all the earth could bear up to that point in time, the Mother withdrew from her physical body. She left a legacy of love and wisdom which sustains and guides growing numbers of people. Like Sri Aurobindo, although her body is in the Samadhi in the main ashram courtyard, her universalized consciousness continues to work in the earth's atmosphere. Countless people still relate experiences of Mother and Sri Aurobindo's living presence and their help and guidance. One of the sweetest gifts the Mother has given to the earth and her children is the teachings of flowers. She has given us the living earth to be our teacher.